Yo, what's up, y'all? This is KJ with KJ Reviews. As usual, I keep my reviews honest with no cuts, no caps, all raw, unedited, straight to the point. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We've got two controllers here I'm going to do reviews on at the same time from Retro Fighters. And this is the first time I've done a review on a Retro Fighters controller. These were sent to me for purpose of review, so thank you again, Retro Fighters, for that. So, all right, let's get to the point, and let's start with the Retro Fighters D6 here by looking at the basic features on the back. Right here, you can see a 6-button fighting style gamepad with tactile kale switch buttons. That's pronounced kale, by the way, in case y'all didn't know. Compatible with Dreamcast, Switch, and PC, so you get those combinations right there, and you can use it via USB as a wired controller for, you know, obviously a lot lower latency. 2.4 gigahertz low latency connection via USB retro receivers, multifunction D-pad toggle. The D-pad toggles between the analog sticks. There's a switch right there, but we'll get to that whenever we check out the controller. And on top of that, we've got supports true CZ button support and LR mirror on Dreamcast. That means that those two buttons right there will mirror these on the Dreamcast. Compatible with original VMUs 4 times and 8-bit mods VMU Pro, which I'm looking forward to getting in the future since I have a memory card Pro 2 from my PlayStation 2. Integrated rumble motors, so it does rumble. So it's basically a total package. Now, but let me tell y'all something. No matter how many features any controller has, like I don't care if it's a magician that can shoot lasers, but anything that it has, it could have the best features in the world, but if it doesn't feel right and it doesn't operate right and the D-pads and buttons do not perform your moves correctly, then you don't have anything. It's pretty much an inferior controller if you can't do anything with it, regardless of the features. Great features, but how does it perform? That's what I'm here for. All right, now I have tested this, and I'm going to be testing it also on the screen there, so y'all can see me play a little bit of Street Fighter. But first, let's start with the physical ergonomics on it. Compared to a Sega Saturn, I do like the fact that there is more plastic right here for a better grip. I do love that. There's also some rough texture right here to give you a grip for sweatier hands. The buttons, like I said, are the kale switches, the D-pad and the buttons. You can hear them. And the buttons are concave, so they kind of give me the vibe of, they remind me of 80s and 90s arcade buttons by the Suzo Hap and the IL Euro switch, Euro sticks and switches or whatnot, the parts and the buttons, because they're concave, so it gives me that vibe. And the D-pad here, I like how it's raised really high, so that's good. It's nice and clicky, and you can hear that and feel that. There is a center pivot, by the way. Some people always fail to mention that with D-pads, but it's very important for me that there's a center pivot there. That way, when you don't accidentally press in the center to where it activates all the buttons and then causes confusion in the game. So I believe that every D-pad should have some type of center pivot in the middle to prevent from having to press directly in the center and being able to press all the buttons at the same time. That's just, it's cheap if they don't have that there. But luckily this one does. It's there. It's not that big, but it is there. And here are the shoulder buttons. The shoulder buttons are actually quiet. It's more of a tactile switch and not a micro switch. And of course right there, it's your minus, your plus. There's multiple input modes also. I believe it's D input and X input. And up here, you got those out there. Snapshot, share, etc., etc. Here's the back. I like that two-tone right there, by the way, the dark gray and the off-white. And there's the switch right there, which allows you to switch if you needed to use, if you were playing something like Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast and you wanted to use the D-pad to control Sonic, that's what that switch is for. It's actually not that bad. I've tried it myself. And there is the receiver that hooks up to the Dreamcast, just so y'all know. And I'm not going to be testing it on my Commodore monitor, just so y'all know. I'm going to be testing it there. This is just for a purpose of what it looks like. And that's how it looks. I also got a black one, And my complaint about the black one is, for some reason, the black one still has a gray cord with a white connector here. I don't know why they didn't just make the whole thing black. That would have been awesome, but yeah, it is what it is. But that's how that looks. And there is a Type-C port right there. Most likely, obviously, for firmware updates. But again, there's the controller. All right. That's how it sounds. Let's hear that D-pad one last time. And all right. On top of the pin that it comes with like this little pin. They both do. They used to come with these little tiny action figures I thought was really cool, but now they're doing these little pin thingies. But it comes with that. That's in the box. Obviously, I didn't take it out, but it comes with that, and it comes with, of course, a USB cable. I do like that it comes with a strap right here. That's good. Nice touch. The 2.4 gigahertz dongle is hooked up to my gaming desktop right there for the testing purpose. And right now, let's go to Street Fighter right here. Always the best game to test a fighting gamepad on because of all the inputs required and all the combos necessary, to where the D-pad has to go everywhere to perform a combo. So with that said, let me set that up real quick. Let's give it some volume. Now, the best game to test any fighting gamepad on would have to be Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and let me tell you why. I've said this on previous videos. For some weird reason, executing a Dragon Punch on Turbo is a little bit more difficult than how it was executed on the previous Street Fighter, which was Super Street Fighter 2, not Super Street Fighter 2, but Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. Before the term Super came into part, the Dragon Punch was easier to pull off, and then whenever they hit that Super on there, they made the Dragon Punch just a little bit harder to execute. Nowadays, like on Street Fighter 6, it's really easy to execute. So, basically, if you can execute moves with ease on this Street Fighter right here, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, then you know you have a good D-pad. Now, granted, to get Ryu, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and fire up the BattleGC wireless gamepad for the GameCube right there, because we'll be testing that one next. But first, let's get Ryu going. Okay, light, medium, hard, light, medium, hard. Alright, now, obviously the benefits of having micro switches is precise input. Precise input and less travel compared to using a membrane button. Meaning, see the rapid jab right there, I can like execute a lot faster, tapping it a lot easier. And you know for a fact that when you hit a diagonal, you're gonna go in that direction without accidentally going up by accident. Like for example, on some membrane D-pads, if you try to flip forward, sometimes you end up flipping up because it's one of those D-pads that requires extra pressure to jump forward. So the benefit of a micro switch D-pad is whatever you press, you are going to go in that direction because it's a micro switch button and not a membrane. So with all that said, performing the moves, that's a half circle move, half circle forward move, which executes with ease. And then the quarter circle executes the blue fireball. Quarter circle back, kick is the hurricane kick, the Tatsumaki Senpukak. Executes with ease. And then forward, down, down, forward, or forward, down, forward, like a Z, is the dragon punch. Looks like I had a gremlin there for a second. Anyways, dragon punch is the more difficult move to pull off, and for some weird reason requires a little bit more precision on Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo compared to the previous Street Fighter 2s. But they do execute. You just gotta make sure you're pushing forward, down, then down, forward. It's almost like a Z. I've got a super meter down in the bottom left corner right there, so there's that. So like I said, everything works. The D-pad feels great. I personally like micro switch D-pads because I'm a professional fighter. I'm a big fighting game fan. Play a lot of fighting games. Now, here is where the flaw is with the controller. It may not be a flaw to many people, but it is to me because of my OCD and how I am with gamepads, because I always test them from head to toe very thoroughly with OCD. With Ryu, he's got a combo to where you jump in with a kick. As you can see, I'm gonna jump with a kick, follow up with a low kick, and then a fireball. That's a 3-hit combo, right? But you gotta do that really fast for it to execute as a combo. You know, kick, low kick, fireball. It would be like kick, low kick, fireball. As you can see, it's not executing. For some reason, on some micro switch D-pads, even on the Razor Wolverine, I've noticed this on the Razor Wolverine, for some weird reason, on the micro switch D-pads, when you're pushing down, back, like this, and then following up by rolling your thumb forward to do a Hadouken, sometimes it doesn't execute. Look. To get that combo going, it's best not to jump in with a kick and push down back and then follow up with a fireball, because the D-pad won't execute it. The best thing to do is jump and do that right there. What I did was I jumped in with a kick, I did a low kick, and then I followed up with a quarter circle Hadouken. But if you try to hold back and then follow up with a quarter circle, it won't execute for some weird reason. And that's not all micro switch D-pads. That's just on some. I had that problem with the Wolverine, and I'm having that problem with the Retro Fighters one here also. Now, when I tried the Scuff Envision Pro, didn't have no problems with that one. They're all different. So let me try it again. Right there. That's kick, quarter circle, followed with a quarter circle fireball. But if I hold down back and then kick and try to do a fireball, it doesn't execute. And I know some are going to probably say, well, maybe it's the operator. No. It's definitely not the operator. As many gamepads as I have a ton of gamepads. Holding down back and then following up with a Hadouken, 95% of the time works with a membrane D-pad. But with the micro switch D-pad, from my experience, that one's going to have to be 50-50. So basically, a micro switch D-pad is good for precise movements, executing moves, solo. But when you link them with combos on Street Fighter, on a game like Street Fighter, that's where it gets a little finicky. Just draw off a little bit more combos right here. Just this, right there. But yes. Bottom line is, this right here, great for platforms. Pretty much great for any game that doesn't require the Street Fighter combo system. Combo system meaning the D-pad plays a big part in rolling with button combinations to perform a combo. Then you'll be out of luck. You'll have misfires or whatnot. Now, to be fair, if you use this on a game like Mortal Kombat, you're good to go, because Mortal Kombat, the combo system on there is nothing like Street Fighter. It's completely different. You know, you're not all over the place with the D-pad and the buttons like you are in Street Fighter. So, with that said, this right here for me, even though it has the Street Fighter button layout, is more catered to Mortal Kombat. Because I've tried this on Mortal Kombat and it plays great on Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter, you saw the misfires, so different story on that. Platformers and other types of games, yes, great. Because the D-pad feels great. Everything feels great. The controller is solid. It's very solid and very thick right here, like I said, for a good grip. Overall, great design. With the only flaw being the diagonals on the D-pad right here when trying to perform Street Fighter Link combos. That's about it. Okay, moving forward,